Someone must have sent me an angel. Someone must have known I needed help. 'Cause in the night when darkness caved around me, a whisper came soothing and lilting me softly to sleep. When did I know I'd found an angel? When did I know that I was safe? 'Cause in the night when stillness finally found me, I could float up on visions of dreams. And now I'm free. Yes, I've been released. I feel a light surrounding me, and I know that I finally come home. How many times have I surrendered? How many times have I been down? But the one who lifts me asks me no questions. They just help me to find higher ground. And now I'm free. Yes, I've been released. I feel a light surrounding me, and I know that I finally come home. Memory haunts my mind, holding me where I've been. Break the binds and leave them all behind. Start to live and love my life again. Well, I will stand beside this sweet angel. Will always try to raise the path I walk. 'Cause if there is someone who needs an angel, I wanna be there to catch them if they fall. And now I'm free. Yes, I've been released. I feel a light surrounding me, and I know that I've finally come home. And now, oh, now I'm free. Oh yes, I've been released, and I feel a light surrounding me, and I know that I finally come home. Someone must have sent me an angel. Someone must have known I needed help.
So I know we're in a Unity church. I've spent a lot of time in Unity. I was raised Episcopal, loved going to church, and then moved over to Unity some years ago, was the director of operations at Unity of Sacramento, and I love Unity. I love the whole concept of, one God, many paths, many sources, many avenues to that. And I say all that because I'm actually going to start with a scripture today. And we all know it. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. And you'll recognize it. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, and of these, love is the greatest. So St. Paul wrote the letters to the Corinthians, and I'm actually going to say, wrong. I disagree. I don't agree that love is the greatest. I actually agree. What I would actually say is hope is the greatest. And I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes outlining my argument. And I call this sermon, as I shared with my brother, Faith, or Hope Lost and Hope Found. So the first thing that I like to do in all the talks that I do is to use definitions or quotations, just so you know it's not just my opinion. So you're not just getting what I think, but there's actually some empirical aspect to it as well. So I always go to typically the Cambridge Dictionary because English people know the English language a little bit better than we Americans do. So faith, and if you think about it, even before you start with faith, anything that you only need a mustard seed to move a mountain, it's a little bit intimidating. You think about how much faith do we have individually. Now, you may have far more than I do, but faith is defined as a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. So it's like, ooh. So is that the most important thing in your life? So love, of course, who doesn't want love? Love makes the world go around, and we think of Romeo and Juliet and all these other things. But it occurred to me that oftentimes, at least in my experience, in the giving or the receiving of love, it's also in somewhat of a relationship to what is my level of self-worth. Whereas faith and hope, self-worth is typically not part of the question, but love tends to be part of that. And love is defined as the object of attachment, devotion, or admiration. Pretty clear. So is that the most important thing in your life? Is that the most important thing in human existence? Is that the most important thing in heaven? And then we look at hope. And see, for me, I think a lot of times hope doesn't get the billing, it doesn't get the attention that it deserves. Because it tends to be this thing that a lot of people assume that hope is just kind of like magic fairy dust. Like, whoa, wait, but just, I hope it happens. But I'm going to disprove that here pretty profoundly in a little bit. But by definition, it's defined as the feeling that what is wanted can be had. So you think, okay, what do I want? You think, okay, well, it's this feeling. It's powerful. We've all been in the space of what is it like when you have that feeling of hope. Now, most of you know, and then for those of you who are new, and it's great to see so many newbies here today. So most of the work that I do is around the aspect of mental health. And 14 years ago, I was in a place of what I call mental hellness, in which I tried to kill myself. And thankfully, I was saved and moved along this avenue, this journey, as I like to say, from mental hellness to mental wellness. And so that's where I go around the world is I give these talks. And for me, it is the most singular, most important thing is this aspect of hope. And if you line up 10,000 people who are suicidal, and you say you get one word to describe how you feel, what's your state of being, you all already know what the answer is going to be. What is it? Exactly. Right. So you think, wow, none of them talk about, like, I don't feel lovable, or I don't feel like I have enough love, or my faith is way. No, what they talk about is the absence of hope. So for me, then, that means that the converse must be true. If I have hope, All things are possible. And see, and I've had these experiences at 62. David's young. I'm 62. David's only 60. I like to define, I like to describe, I like to try to paint a picture. And unfortunately, if I was on the piano, it would not be a good experience. So what is it like to be hopeless, to lose hope? So most of you will remember, and again, for those who don't know, I've been married twice, and I hit the jackpot both times. Just amazing souls, these beautiful, extraordinary human beings that have been I have a wife now, and my former bride, Deanna. We ran an incredible animal sanctuary. And if you like animals, you would have loved it. It was called A Chance for Bliss, home to as many as 100 animals at any one time. We had 25 horses. We had 23 dogs, all of whom lived in the house. We had 9 pot-bellied pigs. We had goats and sheep and ducks and geese and bunnies and birds and turtles. We had 15 different species. And because of as I like to say, my former bride had a mama bear heart, we took in the ones that nobody wanted. Most all were at end of life, or they had been tortured or abused or were blind or deaf. The ones that nobody wanted, so we did no adoptions. They stayed until, as my brother had shared here, until they made their transition. And so of all those animals, we had one that was non-rescued. We had a puppy. And now we were crazy about Boston Terriers. And you guys know what a Boston Terrier is? So they're a lot like a Frenchie, and they do the 2 things that men do. They snore and they fart. We had lots of Bostons, and so Hope was a Boston. We got her just when she was just a little puppy, and she was Daddy's girl. Man, I loved Hope, and Hope was like the ambassador for the sanctuary. I mean, she greeted all the animals. She was always with me. She was my heart and soul. So as you can imagine, taking care of all those animals was a big, big task for Deanna and I every single day. And so there was one person that we had outside, his name was Jose, and we had a friend of Dee's named Guy who ultimately came to live with us and help us with the inside. And so it was in 2008, Deanna was a huge Kenny Chesney fan. And we had not been out on a quote-unquote date in like literally years. And so Kenny Chesney was here in San Francisco, and we were living, the sanctuary is in Sacramento, outside of Sacramento towards Auburn. And we're like, okay, we're gonna have a date. And we're gonna go to this concert. Guys, we've handled the chores, and Guy's gonna take care of the pups inside. And so we go, and it's in the big, in Candlestick, and it was an amazing concert, and it was so great to go away and have this incredible experience. And then we drove home. We got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. And remember, we walked in. Remember, there's 23 dogs that live in the house. And so we walked in, and some of the dogs came and greeted us, and we're looking around, and then they're like, where's Hope? Very, very unusual that she wouldn't be the first one to greet Dad. So then, well, maybe she's in the back of the house, because it was all on one level. And maybe she's in the back of the house and she just didn't hear us. And so we go in the back where our bedroom was, and she's not there. And then knock on Guy's door and look inside there, and she's not there. I'm like, man, God, that's really weird. Where's Hope? So we go out into the backyard, and I thought, well, I don't know, who knows? Maybe she's back here, go back there. She's not back there. And then we go into like the front pasture, into kind of the barn area. And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe something. And she's not there. And she's not there. Never found her. Never. We think we know what happened, that unfortunately, I think Guy fell victim to a temptation to literally sell her while we were gone. We put signs up, we did everything possible, and never saw her again. June 8th, 2008, worst day of my life. That's what it feels like when you lose hope. We had 90 animals pass away when we did all that work. Nothing hurt like that. Nothing was worse than that. That's that when people talk about, well, how could somebody get hopeless? And it's not so much the condition, but what does it feel like? And And see, for me, somebody who has lived with a condition of depression for most of my life, that's worse than it is if I don't feel lovable, if my faith is challenged. It's just the hole that's left in hopelessness is so profound that I think, okay, well, the opposite then, what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of hopelessness? To have hope. And there's so many great acronyms for hope. They're just, one is hold on, pain ends. One is, and Reverend David is, I'm trying to think what's beyond expert. Even better than that is hearing other people's experiences, creating the space, where you can share with this amazing soul what's going on in your life. And the beautiful thing is, most people believe that, well, really Jane Goodall puts it best in what she says, hope is often misunderstood. People think of it as simply passive wishful thinking. I hope something happens, but I won't do anything about it, which she says, which is the exact opposite of hope, which requires action and engagement. So in other words, what she's saying is you can have hope anytime, any place, anywhere with anybody. You can. You can't necessarily do that with love. And you can't necessarily do that with faith, but you can manufacture, not like it's inauthentic, if that's such a word, but you can create hope anytime you want. And you got to trust me on this, because this is what I do every day, because it is what I need. I mean, love, of course, love, again, my former bride is still a great friend of mine, my current beloved. Unless I'm irritating her, then maybe not. I'm not her favorite person, but I never do that. My name's David. Come on. Exactly. So what I share, and I've shared this before, but I think, especially now because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but I think, I don't know if we can ever hear this too much, is that connection creates hope. And hope saves lives. It does. It saves lives, not just in literal sense from somebody who might be like have no more hope left, but also can save lives from despair and from disheartening and from frustration and all these different things. Hope is so powerful and so magical that it has that ability to do it. And so connection and Brene Brown, it's just really unfair that one person could be this brilliant. And if you've not watched her TED Talk, please watch it. It's on the power of vulnerability. And here's what she says about connection. She says, and you get this when you're with Jen or you're with David, says that I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, when they feel heard, and when they feel valued. When they can give and receive without judgment, and they derive strength and sustenance from the relationship. So you're with David and Jen, and you have the same feeling that we're going to have here at the end of service, like you've had a meal. You're like you feel nourished. You feel filled up. You feel just like I'm okay. That's what connection is about. And my assertion is, and I have no initials past my name. This is just what I practice. Is that how can you feel anything but hope when you feel seen, heard, and valued? When you can share anything that you want to, and the only thing the person is going to do is listen. And then you look at Rachel Naomi Remen, who's local, who wrote Kitchen Table Wisdom, who says, our listening creates a sanctuary for the homeless parts in another person. Like, okay, just like the whole thing. But the best quote about hope and why I think that it is the singular most powerful thing is from a guy named Matthew on Twitter. And Matthew loves cats. And yet, in his incredibly humble way, here's how he describes hope. He says, people think of hope as this delicate, ephemeral thing made up of whispers and spider webs. It's not. Hope has dirt on her face, blood on her knuckles, and the grit of cobblestones in her hair, and she just spit out a tooth as she rises for another go. That's hope. That's like love didn't spit out a tooth. Faith didn't spit out a tooth. Like hope spit out a tooth as she rises for another go. Like you cannot defeat this thing. And I think that that's in this day and age in particular, we all need hope. Hope is the thing. I mean, it's great to be loved, of course, and it's great to have faith, but hope is the concrete. It's the steel. It's the platinum. It's the titanium. It's the essence of what we need right now. And we can do this anytime we want. And there's lots of different ways, and the ways that I share, I've shared them before, but I just think it occurred to me in prayer, like, we got to reiterate this right now, because it's kind of like this right now. Well, how about we need something solid? And it's recognition, understanding, and expression. And we're big on names. So it's interesting. For the most part, the animals that came to the sanctuary, we didn't change their names unless their name was stupid. And so we had a big pug. Like, he was a big boy. So he came with the name Pudgy. I'm like, okay, that's rude. Like, one, he was given up at like 14 years old, and then you got this stupid name. So Deanna said, you know what, babe, how about if we name him Moose? And I'm like, oh, that's a great name for him. And you know the amazing thing? He answered to it. Immediately answered to Moose. And the great thing about Moose was Moose was so great. Again, 23 dogs, that's a lot of camaraderie, let's just say it that way. That very rare, but occasionally there would be a fight. No, it'd be more of a disagreement. And if Moose picked up any essence of a disagreement, he literally would wade in between the other dogs. Like, okay, break it up here, break it up. And then they would respect him. They would. It was incredible. And we became known throughout the community as the place that would take the dogs that nobody wanted. And so we got a call from a dear friend of ours, Dr. Margaret Hunt, and she was a veterinarian at the Sacramento Animal Shelter, and she said, hey guys, I got this. She's probably 16 years old. She's a female Boston, and I tried to adopt her, but nobody wants her, but I can't put her down. Do you have room at the inn? And we said, absolutely. So I remember Dr. Hunt was a very tall, statuesque woman, and kind of stoic. She wasn't a hugger like I am. And so when we got there, I was a little confused because she had obviously was upset. And I said, Dr. Hunt, are you okay? And she said, I'm okay, just give me a sec. I said, okay, and she's holding this Boston, gray muzzle, black and white hair, like all Bostons. And before I could say anything, she says, I've named her Ruth. Okay. And I'm thinking, not super creative. It's what thank God I did not open my mouth. And she said, I named her Ruth because I wanted her to have respect, understanding, truth, and honor. And I'm like, oh. So what I share with people is when we take the time to learn and use somebody's name, that is exactly what we give them. We are giving them an experience of Ruth. So your homework is, next time you go out to eat, every time that soul comes back to the table, every time, not every third, not every second, every single time, use their name. Use their name, and you tell me what happens at the end of an hour. And then next time you go to the AM, PM, the gas station, everything else, let me just tell you one thing. Two things, actually. First thing is, they know their name. Okay? The name tag, that would be for us. So when you go to a gas station and the person's behind the corner and you're buying whatever, call them by their name. Because there's going to be 100 people have walked through there and not a single one of them have called that soul by their name. Call them by their name. Give you and they an experience of hope. That moment. And then we have, this is my favorite one, is expression. Like, we got to let people know how we feel. So I was in Missouri just a few weeks ago, did my whole talk longer talk. And this person came and said, oh my gosh, I got to tell you this story. So her name was Rachel, married to a wonderful man named Chris. So she was a dog lover, and I had talked about dogs and things like that. And she said, had this great veterinarian. Her name was Dr. Smith. And she just did a great job every time that I took my dogs to her. And every time I wrote her a note. Or I did a posting on social media. And so, and then Dr. Smith, who had her own practice, she sold it because it got a little too busy. It was a little too stressful. And she went to work for somewhere else. So they kind of lost contact for a little bit. And so Rachel says, well, okay. So Rachel's 40th birthday comes. She wakes up on that day, goes out to her car. Her car is like bedazzled with 40th birthday stuff, like incredibly. And it had dog stuff on there and everything else. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she goes inside to her husband and says, sweetheart, thank you so much. And she says, honey, I didn't do it. She's like, what are you talking about? She says, Dr. Smith did it. She's like, what? So she said, yeah, and she wanted me to have you call her. So Rachel, my new friend, calls Dr. Smith and says, Dr. Smith, thank you so much for this incredible surprise. Like, I don't understand. She said, Dr. Smith says, I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you. And she's like, well, but you were the one that did all the work, and you were the one that took care of my dogs. And she said, Rachel, you don't understand. What had happened is after she had sold her practice, Dr. Smith fell into a horrific depression. Dr. Smith had tried to take her own life, but was stopped and was in a psychiatric facility. When she was in the psychiatric facility, similar to a psychiatric facility I had been in, when she was in that psychiatric facility, she was in a horrific place. And her husband said, sweetheart, what can I do to help you feel supported? And Dr. Smith said, it occurred to me that maybe this would help. And so she asked her husband to bring all of the notes and all of the postings that Rachel had posted on social media, all the notes that she wrote, had her husband bring them to her in the psychiatric hospital. And Dr. Smith said, reading those saved my life. She said, that's why I did that for you. Rachel said, David, I had no idea when I wrote those notes, ultimately, the difference that they would make on that person. That's when you and me, when we tell people how much they mean to us, we have no idea what that's going to take. I think I shared with you that at the end of 2023, I fell back into a horrific depression. Terrible. All I wanted to do was to die. I had to pinky promise my wife as recently as the beginning of 2024 that I would be alive when she came home from work every day. So I tell people I have two North Stars. I have my bride and I have my eldest brother, who did 42 years in our Army, retired as a 2-star general. And at the end of 23, when I fell back into that place, I didn't know it at the time, but he started a sacred practice that continues to this day, as of this morning, is every day he texts me from Illinois. He texts me, and it's always in 4 parts. I mean, he went to West Point, so of course it's got to be formatted. So the first part is he tells me what he's doing that day. Just, hey, I'm going to the doctors, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. It's like I'm living right next door to him. The second part is his advice, counsel, suggestions, directive, whatever to me. Hey, this, whatever. Third part, always motivational text. And fourth part is always a sentiment. His is always the same. Love you. Do you know how many times he's missed in 18 months? 0. Do you know how much those texts mean to me? Do you know what we can do with each other is just to offer that? Like that's the thing. I mean, look what happened with my new friend Rachel. And look what my brother has done. So we have the names, the way to create connection, to give each other hope. We have the expression, let people know how we feel, to give each other hope. And then we have understanding. So you can't see this real well. So it's a picture You see, this looks like, it's like a 6, right? But you know what's interesting? If you were from the other side, it looks like a what? It looks like a 9. So who's right? You know, I mean, how many arguments, how many passionate disagreements that have any of us, and certainly our world right now, is because it just depends on what side of the table are you on. I mean, this is both people are right. But can we create, and see, I think my beloved sister-in-law Stacy says, she and my brother Tom, their work in relationships is incredible. And she says that the purpose of communication is to arrive at understanding. Like, that's it. Like, wow, okay, that's pretty profound. Like, all communication is about understanding. And Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, so I figured it'd be good to quote a holy man besides David here. He says, the greatest antidote to violence is conversation. Speaking our fears, listening to the fears of others, and in sharing vulnerabilities, discovering a genesis of hope. So it all comes back to hope. Like, the whole thing comes back, it's about hope. Not that faith and love are bad. Who am I? You got St. Paul and you got David Woods Bartley. Okay, there's kind of a bit of a difference there. But I just think that hope is so often, it doesn't get its due. You think, oh yeah, you're just kind of cute, just stay to the side. But you know what? But hope is that thing, you know? Hope spit out a tooth and rises for another go. It just, and my assertion is no one will ever take their life when they feel hope. Not hope. And hope's not dependent on self-worth, which I think, you know, for me, at least, if you look at love, and maybe even faith, and faith is, quite frankly, intimidating to me. So last story. You all probably read this. It was back in the 1950s. There's a thing called the Hope Experiment. So what they did is they took a container of water and they filled it up and they put a rat inside and they timed how long could the rat swim. And rats are known as pretty good swimmers, and it was right about 2 to 3 minutes. And then you could say, okay, the rat is just like losing and is just about to go down. And right at that critical moment, they took the rat, dried him off, held it, connected with it, gave the rat an opportunity to catch its breath, gave it some time, and then they put the rat back in the water to say, okay, well, you've had a little bit of time. How long could you swim the second time? So the first time is literally like right about 2 to 3 minutes. The second time, and really this was connection. The second time, 60 hours. 60 hours. I mean, I've checked this thing so many times. You can look it up. It's called the Hope Experiment. It was done in the 50s. So you think, well, what? But hope floats. Hope. Remember, what is hope? Literally defined as the feeling that what is wanted can be had. So you have this being, this sentient being, can swim for 2 to 3 minutes and is about to go down. Whoop, take it out. Let me connect. Give it the experience of hope. 60 hours, not 60 minutes. 60 hours. And we can do this anytime we want. I'll end with this quotation from a wonderful soul named Nikki Bonas, and she says this: if you only carry one thing throughout your entire life, let it be hope. Let it be hope that better things are always ahead. Let it be hope that you can get through even the toughest of times. Let it be hope that you are stronger than any challenge that comes your way. Let it be hope that you are exactly where you are meant to be right now, and that you are on the path to where you are meant to be. Because during these times, hope will be the very thing that carries you through. Connection creates hope. and hope saves lives. Thank you all so much.